just sitting here having coffee and working on my case files.
I don't care what you say you are. You've been here too long. Time to go.
Too long? I bought coffee 30 minutes ago. The staff hasn't said anything. Why are you asking me to leave?
Because I'm telling you to. Now get up and walk out or I'll remove you myself.
Touch me without a lawful reason and that's a civil rights violation.
Officer Daniel Vasquez had spent 11 years with the Philadelphia Police Department, though only 6 of those were spent patrolling the downtown business district. He had a reputation among his supervisors for what they called strict enforcement of loitering rules, especially in high-end coffee shops and retail spaces that attracted professionals. One Thursday morning at Rittenhouse Coffee House, his mistaken belief that a black man using a laptop didn't belong in an upscale cafe would end up costing the city $3.9 million and ruin his policing career forever. Christopher Banks, a black man in his late 30s, was simply sitting by a window with his laptop open, legal documents spread across the table, and a half-drunk latte next to the keyboard. He wore a dress shirt and slacks, his suit jacket resting on the back of the chair, preparing for a court case scheduled later that afternoon. No trouble, no complaint, no rule broken, just a lawyer doing what thousands of professionals do in upscale town. Coffee shops every day. But Officer Vasquez saw him and immediately made a judgment, one rooted in bias. He assumed that a black man sitting alone in a fancy cafe must be loitering, maybe homeless, certainly not a paying customer who belonged there. That mistaken belief set off a confrontation that included orders to leave, an attempted physical removal in front of other patrons, and a federal civil rights lawsuit that revealed how racial profiling targets black professionals even in ordinary public places. Before we go on, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, click subscribe. Stories like this need to be told, and your support helps us uncover more truth. Rittenhouse Square, Philadelphia, a high-end neighborhood where historic brownstones face a beautifully kept park where professionals gather for lunch, and coffee shops serve as unofficial offices for lawyers, consultants, and business owners. Rittenhouse Coffee House stood at the corner of 18th and Walnut. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out onto the square, while exposed brick walls lined the interior and the aroma of freshly roasted coffee beans filled the air. It was 10:45 on a Thursday morning, and the cafe was moderately busy. A few business people held meetings, some students studied with textbooks, and a couple of people worked on laptops. The usual mix you'd expect in any downtown coffee shop. Christopher Banks had been a criminal defense lawyer for 12 years. 12 years representing clients in Philadelphia courts, arguing motions, negotiating plea deals, and taking cases to trial. He had spent 7 years at a prestigious firm before starting his own practice 5 years ago. His clients ranged from first-time offenders to executives facing white-collar charges. He had been recognized by the Philadelphia Bar Association and had mentored younger attorneys. He earned a reputation for meticulous preparation and determined advocacy. That Thursday morning, he wasn't in court yet. He had a 2 o'clock pre-trial hearing for a client charged with assault. He had come to Rittenhouse Coffee House to review his motions, prepare his arguments, and go over witness statements one last time. He liked working in coffee shops before court. The background noise helped him concentrate, and the caffeine was a bonus. Christopher had arrived at 9:30, ordered a large latte and a croissant, paid with his card, and settled into his usual window-side table. He spread out his files, opened his laptop, and got to work. He had been there just over an hour, fully absorbed in his preparation, occasionally taking a sip of coffee. He was doing exactly what he did several times a week, exactly what dozens of other professionals in Philadelphia did every day, working in a cafe, paying for his drink, and disturbing no one. But to Officer Daniel Vasquez, none of that mattered. Vasquez had joined the Philadelphia Police Department 11 years earlier after 4 years in the military. His trainers praised his discipline and attention to detail, but also noted his strict, inflexible interpretation of rules. He had spent his first 5 years in various assignments: traffic enforcement, neighborhood patrols, special events, and security details. When he transferred to downtown commercial patrol 6 years ago, his approach raised concerns almost immediately. In those 6 years, Vasquez had sparked 14 complaints. 12 of them involved Black or Latino individuals who were questioned, told to leave, or removed from businesses where they had every right to be. A black woman was asked to leave a bookstore because Vasquez thought she looked suspicious, even though she was a regular customer. A Latino teenager was removed from a restaurant because Vasquez assumed he couldn't afford to eat there, even though he had just placed an order. A black man was questioned in a hotel lobby and asked to prove he was a guest, despite having a room key. An elderly black woman was asked to leave a department store because Vasquez assumed she was loitering when she was simply waiting for her daughter. Every complaint was reviewed and closed with familiar bureaucratic language. Officer enforcing business policies, actions within discretion, recommend additional training on community engagement. Vasquez attended the trainings, sat through the workshops, and yet continued seeing black and brown people as inherently suspicious. He kept assuming they didn't belong in upscale spaces and used his authority to remove them. That Thursday morning, Vasquez was walking his usual route through Rittenhouse Square when he glanced into the coffee shop and saw Christopher sitting by the window, papers spread out, focused on his laptop. Vasquez's mind didn't register a lawyer preparing for court. It registered a black man taking up space, someone who'd probably been sitting there too long, someone who likely bought one cheap coffee hours ago and was now just loitering. Someone who didn't fit the usual Rittenhouse clientele. He walked into the cafe, his hand near his belt, eyes locked on Christopher. Do you think officers should be allowed to question paying customers and businesses without a staff complaint? Drop your answer below. Christopher was absorbed in a witness statement, jotting notes in the margin when he felt someone standing close to his table. He looked up and saw the officer, and at first thought something had happened outside, an accident maybe, or an incident in the square. Officer, is everything okay? Vasquez's tone was flat, firm. How long have you been sitting here? Christopher blinked, confused. I don't know, maybe an hour? Why? What's going on? You need to make a purchase or leave. Christopher pointed to his nearly empty cup and the crumpled pastry wrapper. I did make a purchase. I bought coffee and a croissant when I got here. Vasquez eyed the cup skeptically. That was an hour ago. You can't just sit here all day. Christopher felt a flicker of frustration. All day? I've been here an hour, and yes, I can sit here. I'm a paying customer. I'm working. Working on what? Christopher's frustration grew. Does it matter? I'm in a coffee shop, working on my laptop, like dozens of others in here. Why are you questioning me? Because you've been here too long, taking up space. Too long. Christopher glanced around the cafe. Half the tables were empty. At the other occupied tables, people had laptops open, books spread out, clearly settled in for long stays. No one else was being bothered. Officer, I'm a paying customer. I haven't broken any rules. The staff hasn't asked me to leave. Why are you singling me out? Vasquez's face stiffened. I'm not singling anyone out. I'm enforcing loitering policies. Loitering? I bought coffee. I'm sitting at a table. How is that loitering? You need to leave now. Christopher's voice rose slightly, disbelief breaking through his professional calm. I'm a lawyer. I'm just sitting here, drinking coffee, and working on my case files. Vasquez's tone turned cold, dismissive. I don't care what you say you are. You've been here too long. Time to go. Christopher couldn't believe what he was hearing. The arbitrariness of it, the targeting, the assumption that he didn't belong. Too long? I bought coffee 30 minutes ago. The staff hasn't said anything. Why are you asking me to leave? Vasquez stepped closer to the table. Because I'm telling you to. Get up and walk out, or I'll remove you myself. The cafe had grown quiet. Other customers were watching. A young white woman at the next table had her phone out, already recording. A man in a business suit near the entrance had stopped mid-conversation, staring at the scene unfolding. Christopher looked at the officer, then at the other customers who had been sitting just as long, or longer, none of them being asked to leave. He looked at his case files, his laptop open to legal documents, and his bar stool. Association card in his wallet beside his phone, and he realized exactly what was happening. This isn't about how long I've been here, Christopher said, his voice calm but controlled with anger. This is about how I look. You came in, saw a black man, and decided I didn't belong. Vasquez's face flushed. I'm asking you one more time. Get up and leave. No. The word hung in the air, simple, defiant, necessary. Excuse me? I said no. I'm a paying customer. I haven't broken any rules. I haven't disturbed anyone. I'm not leaving just because you've decided, based on nothing but bias, that I don't belong here. Vasquez reached for Christopher's arm. Then I'm removing you. Christopher pulled back instinctively. Don't touch me. I haven't done anything wrong. The cafe manager, a young white man named Tyler Morrison, rushed over from behind the counter. Officer, what's happening? Is there a problem? Vasquez gestured toward Christopher. This man has been loitering. He needs... Tyler looked puzzled. Loitering? He's a regular customer. He comes in here all the time. He bought coffee this morning. He's not bothering anyone. Vasquez's jaw tightened. He's been sitting here over an hour. Tyler glanced at the other customers, several of whom had clearly been there longer. So have other people. We don't have a time limit. As long as customers buy something, they're welcome to stay and work. That's literally our business model. There is no loitering. I'm enforcing loitering policies, Vasquez said. Tyler's voice grew firmer. He's a customer. He paid. He's welcome here. I'm asking you to leave him alone. Vasquez ignored Tyler and turned back to Christopher. Last chance. Get up or I'll arrest you for trespassing and disorderly conduct. Christopher stared at him, rage and disbelief battling across his face. Trespassing in a business where the manager just said he's welcome here? Disorderly conduct for sitting quietly at a table? Do you even hear yourself? Get up now. The woman recording spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. This is insane. He hasn't done anything. Why are you doing this? Vasquez spun toward her. Ma'am, put that phone down and mind your own business. This is my business. We're all watching you harass someone for no reason. Other customers were pulling out phones now, multiple people recording, multiple witnesses. Tyler stepped between Vasquez and Christopher. Officer, I'm the manager. I'm telling you officially this customer is welcome in my cafe. He has not broken any rules. If you remove him, you're violating his rights and mine. Vasquez's face flushed red. Whether from embarrassment or anger, it wasn't clear. Step aside, sir. I will not. You need to leave my cafe now. Are you obstructing a police officer? I'm protecting my customer from harassment. Should coffee shop managers face legal consequences for defending customers from police harassment? Let me know what you think. A second officer arrived, radioed by Vasquez. Officer Michelle Torres, an 8-year veteran who had worked downtown long enough to recognize trouble when she saw it. Vasquez, what's going on here? Refusing to leave after loitering, managers being uncooperative. Torres looked at the scene. Christopher sitting calmly at the window table, surrounded by legal documents. Tyler standing protectively nearby, multiple customers recording in the half-full cafe, empty tables scattered throughout. She walked over to Tyler. Sir, what's your position on this customer? Tyler didn't hesitate. He's a regular. He bought coffee. He's welcome to stay as long as he wants. Officer Vasquez is harassing him for no reason. Torres turned to Christopher. Sir, can I see your receipt? Christopher pulled out his phone and showed the credit card transaction from 90 minutes earlier, a large latte and a croissant, $12.45. Torres examined it, then looked at Vasquez. He's a paying customer. The manager wants him here. What's the problem? He's been here too long. Torres gestured around the cafe. So have other people. I don't see you asking them to leave. They're different, Vasquez said before he could stop himself. Different. Everyone in the cafe understood exactly what he meant. Torres's expression hardened. Kyle, step outside with me now. Vasquez followed her out, leaving Christopher at his window table, still surrounded by his files, his hands trembling slightly from adrenaline and anger. Tyler put a hand on Christopher's shoulder. I am so sorry. That was completely out of line. Your next coffee is on the house. Hell, your next 10 coffees are on the house. Christopher nodded but stayed silent, trying to process what had just happened, trying to understand how preparing for court in a coffee shop had nearly led to his arrest. Torres and Vasquez spoke outside for several minutes. Through the window, customers could see Torres gesturing firmly, her body language showing she was clearly not pleased. When they came back in, Torres walked directly to Christopher. "Mr. She paused, waiting for his name. "Banks." "Christopher Banks. Mr. Banks, I apologize for this situation. You have every right to be here. Officer Vasquez made an error in judgment." Christopher's voice was cold. "An error in judgment? He tried to physically remove me from a business where I'm a paying customer, where the manager confirmed I'm welcome, based on nothing but the fact that I'm black. That's not an error in judgment. That's racial profiling." Torres didn't disagree. "You're right, and we'll be documenting this incident if you want to file a formal complaint." "Oh, I'll be filing more than a complaint," Christopher said. "I'm an attorney. I know exactly what my rights are, and I know exactly what just happened here." He began packing up his files, his hands still trembling. "Sir, you don't have to leave," Torres said. "You're welcome to stay." I know I don't have to leave, but I can't work here now. I can't focus. I'm too angry." He closed his laptop, gathered his papers, and stood. "Tyler, thank you for standing up for me, but I can't be here right now." Tyler nodded, understanding. "I'm really sorry, Christopher. I mean it. And I'll be filing a complaint too. This is my business, and no one treats my customers like that." Christopher walked out of the cafe, his case files tucked under his arm, his morning ruined, his preparation interrupted, all because Officer Daniel Vasquez couldn't imagine that a black man in a coffee shop might actually belong there. By early afternoon, the story had spread across Philadelphia. Multiple customers had posted their videos online. The footage showed everything: Vasquez approaching Christopher without cause, Christopher showing his receipt, Tyler defending his customer, Vasquez's statement that the other patrons were different. Headlines read, "Black attorney kicked out of coffee shop. By police. Lawyer harassed while preparing for court. Philadelphia cop tries to remove paying customer based on racial profiling." The outrage was immediate. The legal community rallied behind Christopher. Other attorneys of color shared their own similar experiences. Coffee shop owners across the city condemned the incident. The Philadelphia Bar Association issued a statement supporting Christopher and denouncing the police action. Civil rights lawyers contacted Christopher within hours. This wasn't just about an unlawful attempt to remove him. It was about the underlying assumption that black people don't belong in upscale spaces, don't deserve to work in peace, and don't have the same rights as white customers to simply exist. The lawsuit named Officer Daniel Vasquez, Officer Michelle Torres, and the Philadelphia Police Department. The claims were clear: attempted unlawful removal without cause, racial profiling in a public accommodation, violation of civil rights, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and deprivation of rights under color of law. City attorneys reviewed the case and quickly realized it was indefensible. Video evidence from multiple angles captured everything: Christopher as a paying customer, Tyler confirming he was welcome, Vasquez trying to remove him anyway, and Vasquez's own words, "They're different." The city settled within 10 months for $3.9 million. Christopher donated part of the settlement to organizations fighting for equal access to public spaces and supporting attorneys of color. Officer Daniel Vasquez was fired 13 weeks after the incident. The termination letter was direct and final. Officer Vasquez had tried to remove a paying customer from a business solely because of racial bias. Even after the manager confirmed the customer was welcome and the customer showed proof of purchase, Vasquez continued the harassment. His actions violated department policy, state law, federal civil rights protections, and basic principles of equal treatment. His employment was terminated immediately. Vasquez's name was added to the National Decertification Index, ending his law enforcement career permanently. He attempted to appeal. The union initially supported him, but withdrew once the videos went viral and the legal community mobilized. Vasquez released a short statement. I made a serious misjudgment. I allowed my perception of the situation to override the facts. I apologize to Mr. Banks and take full responsibility. No one cared. The Philadelphia Police Department faced intense scrutiny. How had Vasquez, with 14 prior complaints involving racial profiling in commercial areas, remained on patrol? Why had supervisors ignored the clear pattern? What training existed to prevent officers from targeting people of color in public businesses? Internal Affairs launched a comprehensive review. The findings were predictable. Complaints were filed, but never seriously investigated. Trainings were completed, but not absorbed. Officers continued to see Black people in upscale spaces as inherently suspicious, rather than as customers with equal rights. Reforms were announced. Mandatory training on racial bias in commercial enforcement, a ban on questioning paying customers without a business owner's complaint, real-time body camera review for all incidents in public accommodations, and community oversight with enforcement authority. Christopher Banks became an advocate, speaking at police reform hearings, community forums, and bar association events. His message was clear. I'm a lawyer. I've argued in front of judges. I've defended people's constitutional rights. And I was nearly arrested for drinking coffee while Black, for working while Black, for existing in a space where Officer Vasquez decided I didn't belong. That's not policing. That's enforcing segregation with a badge. He paused during one particularly powerful speech, his voice thick with emotion. Every Black professional I know has a being followed in stores, questioned in hotels, asked to leave restaurants. We achieve, we succeed, we earn our place, and still we're treated like we're trespassing in spaces we have every right to occupy. The audience was silent. This wasn't just bad policing. It was a window into how racial bias governs space itself. Officer Vasquez didn't see an attorney preparing for court. He saw a Black man and immediately assumed he didn't belong, couldn't afford to be there, must be loitering. He couldn't imagine that a Black man might be a lawyer. He couldn't imagine that success and Black skin could coexist in upscale spaces. He couldn't imagine that a coffee shop, like all public accommodations, belongs equally to everyone. His bias was so ingrained that he ignored the receipt, dismissed the manager's confirmation, and attempted to physically remove a paying customer, all because his worldview dictated that Black people don't belong in Rittenhouse Square coffee shops. Systemic racism works through assumptions about who belongs where. It's the belief that Black people in upscale spaces must be questioned. It's the refusal to see us as customers, as professionals, as people with the same rights as everyone else. It's the use of police authority to informal segregation. Daniel Vasquez's career is over. That's justice. The city paid $3.9 million. That's accountability. But money and firings don't undo the violation. They don't erase the humiliation of being told to leave a place where you have every right to be. The real question is, what changes now? Do police departments finally recognize that Black professionals have the same right to work in coffee shops as anyone else? Do they finally train officers that paying customers cannot be removed based on skin color? Do they finally accept that profiling in public spaces isn't law enforcement? It's discrimination with a badge. Because if we don't fix the system that kept Vasquez on patrol despite 14 complaints, if we don't address the bias that made him see loitering instead of lawyering, then we're just waiting for the next officer, the next victim, the next professional who has to prove they belong in a space they've already paid to occupy. Comment if you think this should be law. Any attempt to remove a paying customer without the business owner's complaint should trigger automatic investigation and suspension. And if you believe these stories matter, if you think Black professionals deserve to work in peace, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding change. We're going to keep fighting for equal access to every public space. This isn't just about one officer or one attorney. It's about all of us and the spaces we're willing to share or the segregation we're willing to tolerate.